Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dustin Kircher. I got my partner here, Ben Dreicer. We have another RV Park show, and we have an awesome guest that I've gotten to know through an amazing community through Sub 2 and Pace Morby. And we have Mychele Bisson, and her and her husband, Patrick, are purchasing and managing RV parks all across the country, basically. Um, but we met earlier this year, and they have exploded, and it's been really impressive watching the growth from Mychele and her husband. And I'm taking notes. I see stuff that they're doing on their Instagram or social media, and stuff that they're implementing in their parks, and I'm like, that's an amazing idea. So I'm writing it down. So I'm super excited to have Mychele on the show today. Mychele, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a complete honor. So, for those who don't know, my first park, Dustin was extremely vocal in actually helping us get that park underwritten and helped us actually see the value in it. So, I owe a lot to Dustin. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
We actually closed our first park December 28th of last year.
Yep.
So,
That was in Branson, Missouri, right?
it was in Branson, Missouri, and Dustin got to, hear all of our calls of panic of, are we doing the
Yeah, I mean, it was a good park. I remember looking at it and it was like, yeah, I mean, you guys did all the legwork, right? You guys on the road look at it, and I just kind of reviewed the numbers. I said, yeah, this thing looks amazing. Tried to poke some holes in it. I couldn't poke holes in it, and it was a deal. You went back and negotiated the right terms, is what I understand, right?
We did. We did. They started off as a $3 million park. And after really visiting the park and actually laying eyes on it and going through all the numbers, we realized that it was not at a $3 million park when we purchased it. And so we actually got the seller down to a 1.8. And we actually went into that with a hybrid of bringing in seller financing, a private money partner, and a bank loan, which we got a sponsor for, which actually ended up being our private money partner. Uh,
Nice.
but we ended up building the all the money that we needed to buy the park, but also the capex. So we were able to go in right away and just start doing what we wanted to do.
Very cool. And now you guys, we were talking a little bit earlier off camera, that you guys have 4 parks owned and you are an escrow on 2 others. That's right? Right around there?
So we have 3 parks owned, and we're on escrow in 2 others. Yes. So
Wow,
yeah,
gosh, that's amazing. And so
yeah.
and so with these other 2 parks that you purchased, what do those look like? What's the areas? Kind of what attracted you to those parks?
Well, these ones are a little larger than the ones that we originally started with. Our
Okay.
first was cute. It was a 68-acre park, but it was in an amazing, or not 68 acres, 68 pads, and an amazing location in Branson. Our second one was kind of the same. That one we did 100% seller finance. It was right off Route 66. It was kind of a cutesy little, like small amenities.
Hmm.
We moved into larger parks that are more resort area parks.
Okay.
And so our third park in Virginia is actually 98 acres and
Wow.
has just about 400 spots between pads, 10,
Woo.
yeah, huge water slides. We've got golf cart rentals, we've got an arcade, we've got a whole lake that we seed and you can actually go fishing for catch and release, paddle boards, like it's a full destination.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that one, we moved into that very quickly. We figured, it's probably all about the same work. It's a lot more work, but it's worth it. Uh, then the one that we are currently closing on is actually, we're still trying to figure out exactly how we're raising funds for it right now, but
Okay.
it is in the Lake of the Ozarks.
Nice.
Huge expansion opportunity. It currently has a restaurant and a full marina on it, plus pads and cabins,
Mm.
and for about 200 more pads.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. That is amazing. And I can't wait to just go travel to them. I mean, that's kind of the reason why we're in the RV park space. I mean, we're more mobile home park space, but looking at the RV park space also because um, I just want to travel to these, in the off months of summer when the kids are out of school and doing all that. So, but One thing we forgot to mention is that before this, I mean, you guys had real estate experience. You guys had built like a resort. Was it in Scottsdale, Arizona? Was that there? What your guys'
Yeah,
first deal? Yeah.
we actually started investing in real estate in 2020, in late 2020. In about August, I bought the scariest investment I ever did was a single family home that was like $300,000 and it made us like an extra $700 a month. That was like the thing I ever bought. And I bought it without Patrick knowing that we were buying it. He was on the golf course. And I was like, no, I think we can do this. So I just went ahead and put in the offer. But we went from there to building up this long-term portfolio and then going into STRs, which launched us into building the resort zoned property in
Mhm.
Scottsdale. And from there, it was like we started running through numbers when we joined the community and met you. We just started realizing that, if we wanted to hit the numbers we wanted, we had to pivot into something new.
Yeah. Nice. And that was going to be one of my next questions was what led you to the RV park side? What was it that attracted you? Was it just the numbers? Was it what other things were attracted to you?
Well, so I would be lying if I didn't say it originally didn't start with the numbers.
Oh, of course.
I have this resort that does really, really well. It does about 300,000 NOI every year, which is great. It's amazing.
Hmm.
But when we really started looking at numbers, like some of our parks can outdo that quickly without even blinking. I
Hmm.
have one park that I could put. I have golf cart rentals on, and the golf carts actually do $100,000 by themselves.
Wow.
Nice. That's great. See, that's one of the things, guys, I was impressed with because, Mychele, they're implementing these other revenue streams. And I mean, right there, golf carts, $100,000. Not a lot of people think about that for the
No,
right park. It's got to be the right park, obviously.
yes, and it's a 98-acre park and it's got lots of things that you want to kind of roll around on and go check out because we've got the water slides and the arcade and the lake and we actually have a full section that is HOA zoned that for people who stay there long term and
Mm.
they have their own community center with their own pool.
Oh, okay. That
So
that's unique.
yeah, it's definitely different. But we've got all this other acreage that we put festivals on. We have a full calendar of activities all year long. Like there's karaoke night. We sponsor one Friday nights and the HOA sponsors one on Saturday nights because they love it so much.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, so
How,
full activities.
how do you, first of all, your rookie year is incredible. What you've been able to do is out of this world. Me and Dustin talk about it. The fact that you're in like year 1/2 of your RV experience and you already have not only four, but like the size of the parks. And because one thing that like mobile home versus RV, we realize that RV is more of a business rather than just a piece of real estate.
Hmm.
How are you able to manage and bring online these new parks? Like, how is your capacity so great?
You know what? We actually have just surrounded ourselves with the right people. This last year, we've had to go through this whole growing experience of finding these parks and learning how to run them. But it seems like the right people are just attracted to what we're doing, and that really helps. We brought on a CFO, who
Nice.
helped us with managing the fund and how things are going to run and master underwriting of the parks. In the RV industry, I've actually met quite a few people. I've kind of exploded in there too. So a lot of people come to me and they just offer because they want to be a part of what we're doing and they see the vision that we've got. We have a manager that we brought into our first park that we absolutely adore, and wanted to move into bigger things. And one of the best things that I'm able to do is to give her the opportunity to not only travel, but to also get the opportunity to do bigger things. So she's taken on a bigger role where she now goes out to each of our parks as we get them. She starts interviewing for managers and placing people in the right places, putting the systems in place, getting everybody on the same page, putting together all of our operations, everything that needs to happen, setting them up all on the list systems that we need, and getting everybody trained the correct way. That way, more than just one of us can be there. So she'll go to one, I'll head to another, Patrick can head to a third, and it just kind of helps. So they're all running exactly the same way. And then everything is actually hubbed in my office at home. So I can see activity at all the parks through one main computer.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So this big one in Virginia, you said, right? Um, what was the attraction to that? Was it a good price? Was there some value add? What did you see in this park that made you realize that this was a good one to purchase?
It's an amazing park.
I mean, it sounds amazing. Like I want to go there now and do some
Yeah,
karaoke.
bring the kids. Seriously, like you guys need to come. So it when we first visited the park, it was actually purchased a year ago by about a year and a half ago by the current owners, and they had actually done a lot of value adds to it
Mm,
before we came in. Um, and we just loved it. We went and visited, we visited with them because we are seller financing this park, and basically we're marrying the owner for a little bit while
yeah.
we off. And so we got along really well with him and his family. We loved his vision of the park, and they really wanted to get because they just wanted to go build another park in another area.
Mm,
And so we were like, this would be a perfect opportunity to take this one on, and there's still so much that we can do. So at this park in particular, they already have 20 golf carts that they rent out. They're booked fully, completely, 100% of the time. They make $100,000 a year. We're already adding 20 more to up that.
nice.
We can fit with the supply and demand.
Yeah.
We're upgrading our back end systems. We're adding more to the grill because they have a small little grill near
Okay.
area. So we're doing that. We're adding in more pads for the HOA area for people who come in and keep their RV pads there long term. We're winterizing some of the cabins so that we can have some winter guests during the season because it's in Virginia, so it's a little at the frost line where it could get cold, but not cold enough to keep us frozen for long. It usually is like a 2 week snap.
Got it.
Um, we're upgrading the full pool facilities, adding more of the amenities. Like we have a full activity coordinator coming in next year. So she
Hmm.
come in to coordinate all the activities and crafts for all the people. We're putting in cabanas at the pool
Okay.
because people do rent like chairs. So now we're just going to upgrade and actually add cabanas.
Nice.
It'll be really nice for people. And just kind of like get the advertising out there a little bit more.
Yeah. So is the occupancy low or the rates, daily rates or monthly rates low? Or is just by adding these amenities, you're going to attract more or add with where you're talking about like the cabanas and all that stuff, you're going to add more revenue that way. And that's where you saw the value
So a
add.
little bit of both, actually.
Okay.
So we're going to increase the revenues by adding, we're going to up the prices a little bit. We are actually raising the HOA prices because they need to be a little bit higher also.
Okay.
And more activities will attract more of a bigger crowd. We think even though it is pretty solidly based, we're going to probably put in a few more cabins because they are. And I actually have enough space that we want to probably put in a couple of glamping tents
Hmm. Nice.
season and maybe like take them down during the off season. But that way we can get more people in because we do get a wait list at that park.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah. So I think that'll all help to kind of add the value to that and get more people in there. It
All
really
right.
is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's an hour outside of Roanoke, 2 hours from Raleigh. So it's kind of in that sweet spot. And
Yeah.
everybody goes there to like hang out for a week. And a lot of grandparents actually have their RVs there full time. They're part of the HOA.
Okay.
So we have a wait list for that also, which we think if we add a few more HOA pads, we'll be able to bring in a few more people, which will bring in more families.
Yeah. That's amazing. And RV parks, location is huge with bringing in the enough occupancy, right? And so if you're drawing from multiple areas, that's a huge plus. So that's awesome. I mean, eh, gosh, it sounds amazing, and then all the stuff that you guys have planned to do that is awesome. On that one, how did you guys fund it? I know now, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but you're starting or you started a fund, but on that one you purchased prior to your fund, and so how did you guys go about financing it?
So actually that one we seller financed.
Okay.
The unique thing about that one, because all of our properties have come, like we've financed in different ways, none of them are the same.
Yeah.
Um, that one we actually seller financed, but when we originally touched base with the seller, we found out that he originally wasn't going to seller finance to us, and we couldn't figure out why. So when we finally started digging into it, we found out that he had seller financed it from the woman who owned it previously, from the original.
Hmm. Okay.
So when we found that out, we actually kind of went back and we were like, well, this could still work but would you allow us to talk to her? And he was afraid that she would pull the loan if
Mm.
if she knew that he was selling. So we finally convinced him that, like, let us just talk to her. And so after we sat and talked with her, she just renegotiated the note with us. So we seller financed her portion and seller financed his portion. And so we kind of double seller financed that park.
Nice. That's cool. And what good terms? Did you have to put anything down?
So we do have to close them out of a small loan that they have
Hmm.
for the golf carts, the original golf carts that they had purchased. So it was just under 200,000.
Okay.
Not bad. It's a $4 million park.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And then how are you financing the improvements? You have investors that joined you?
we're actually pulling that one into the fund, and the
Okay.
fund will. That was the purpose of doing the fund, is we really want to creatively finance as many of the parks as we possibly can.
Hmm.
And that way we can take the fund money and actually just reposition them to give them the highest return.
Yeah.
So
Great. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about the fund. I know you started that. What's that experience been like? What's your, I guess the goal for the raise? You know, is it focused purely just on RV parks? Tell us a little bit about that fund.
yes, so we actually, crazy enough, we were actually going to partner with somebody else on a fund, and I had had a conversation with Pace,
Mm,
and he was like, well, why aren't you just building one yourself? And so that kind of made our mind shift. And we decided that, okay, well, maybe we need to, but I was still terrified. I've done syndications.
hmm.
They didn't seem as daunting, but I'm always terrified of people's money. I don't want to be the one to tell grandma that it's gone. So
Yeah.
I work really, really hard for our syndicators. I really, really want to make sure that all of our investors get what we
Yeah.
promised. And so going into this, I was a little scared, but Pace actually invited us out to meet with his team. And so we spent 2 full days with his team and learned
Nice.
how to run the fund, how to build our fund, how to structure it, what we should be doing. And we actually ended up using his lawyer.
Okay.
It worked out really well. He's got a great SEC lawyer that we really like. They have an amazing team, and actually they put us in touch with our new bookkeeper. So they really kind of set up our entire system for us,
Okay.
which was so going into it though, like I said, I was a little terrified, but now that we've got all our systems in place and I kind of understand it a little better,
Hmm.
know that we're in good hands, and I know that the people who are running the show are great at what they do. And so I'm really thankful for that. But we are doing a $5 to $25 million fundraise. And it's a blind raise that's just based on RV parks. And so we have a very strict buy box on what we will buy. Like currently we're working on one that is, like I said, has a 200 pad value add that we can do to it. We have a
Hmm.
marina that actually has slips. We're going to take the slips out and actually make them restaurant slips, because they get aligned with, they have 10 slips that are just for people who come in off the lake for the restaurant.
Yeah.
And they do about $160 a ticket, and they're packed with wines out into the lake every year. And
That's
so
awesome.
we're getting rid of the storage slips and we're just putting those in.
That's cool. That's a great idea. Yep.
Yeah. So our restaurant does, I want to say, almost $1 million a year alone.
Jeez, that's great.
Yeah. It's one of the most popular places to kind of go and watch the game or hang out. They do live music every Saturday night. They do a big, it's kind of like a Sturgis run during the summer. There's like a week
Hmm.
in, and they bring in like a live band and do all of that. And then we've got cabins and pads, and then the marina. And actually, there's a casino going in nearby.
That's awesome.
So,
So,
and that one has a huge value add potential. Even their rates are so low. Um, I believe that the Margaritaville and the Coconuts around the corner from us actually charge $14,000 for the season, and right now we're at 3.
hmm.
That much under market.
Very under market.
Wow. Yeah.
We're excited about it.
Yep. That's amazing. So you said that it's got a restaurant's doing 1 million. And you have the other resort park that is also has food. What's your thoughts on that? Like, to me, it scares the scares me on running a restaurant or having a restaurant on part of as the park. Are you guys, is it sublease? Is it ran by another group, or are you guys actually managing that yourself too?
Well, we actually had a very unique thing happen. So we, like I said, we attract the right people. I think we're just kind of in the right space.
Mm-hmm.
So Patrick, for years, worked in food and beverage. He was actually in alcohol and spirits. So
Okay.
a lot of people that were in the food and beverage in a lot of different franchises across the nation. And one of our really, really close friends actually has a lot of experience. For 30 years, he's been building a franchise for another gentleman, and he's
Mm,
been in that one his entire career. So he's done everything from bartending all the way up to now he's like second in command. And so when we went and looked at this park originally, the first time a few weeks ago, we were really nervous about the restaurant. And we've had it's been a rule that we just don't do restaurants
hmm.
because they're just complicated. So we've just stayed away from them. Um, but he actually came to us. We went and visited the park, and then we went to Branson because we were doing a friend holiday where all of our friends came down and actually hung out with us on one of our parks.
I love that. Yep. We talked about that too.
Actually, we do it for all of our properties. Like they've come and hung out in Scottsdale with us. They've come and hung out in our beach houses. Like I think our friends' favorite part about us investing is that they get these vacations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they were all coming to Branson to hang out and do the country strip thing. And so while we were there, he was like, okay, he goes, I know 4 years ago you talked to me about investing, and I poo-pooed the idea because I was afraid. And he was like, I want to spend the next 2 years trying to figure out how to get out of my job. And so I like looked at Patrick, and Patrick looked at me, and I was like, I think we have a good opportunity for you. And so we just asked him, we were like, would you come on as a consultant and help us put systems in place for the restaurants? And
Hmm.
if we can get to a place in 2 years where we're doing well enough, we can hire you on full time. Would you be open to that? And he was like, absolutely. So yeah,
Nice.
kind of got the right person that,
Yeah.
trust him. I mean, we've been friends for years. Our families all have known each other. We've been there while our kids were being raised. So it's a good fit for us.
Yep. I mean, that's a huge thing is just connecting with the right people, right? Obviously, you've known this person for a long time, but even the connections I've made in like inside sub two and other communities, or they're not really communities, but groups that I'm in, right? It's very valuable. And Ben can say the same thing. For sure, you can say the same thing. It's just finding the right people. It's, it's all about that book, Who Not How. It definitely plays out, especially I feel like in these bigger assets that's just like you can't do everything. You have to figure out how to get help. But so that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Um, all the pieces coming together on this.
Yeah. I think that's when you kind of know that you're like aligned with your right purpose,
Hmm.
is when everything just kind of falls together and you didn't really expect it to. Because a year
Yeah.
ago, if you told me that I'd be running a bunch of RV parks across the country, I would have been like, you're insane.
Yes.
Which is absolutely crazy. And now you're talking about a fund and doing the fund yourself, which is incredible. And we've talked about the fund. It just kind of, it's scary to have a fund because now you're a custodian of people's money and now you have pressure on you. You need to find deals because you need to perform for the fund. Can you go into a little bit of detail on that? Like the second somebody puts in money, are they already getting a return? Do you have time? Do you feel any sort of pressure because of a fund? Because we've had this conversation multiple times about there's huge advantages to funds, especially as an investor. The fact that they can diversify over multiple assets is a huge benefits as the investor. Can you talk about it as in the person creating the fund and how you feel about it and what convinced you to go that direction?
I feel like, well, one, we had already done a few syndications. And one of the things that I really did like about our lawyer was that when he sat down with us, he kind of wanted to know what our track record was. And
Mhm.
so it wasn't just a, hey, here's a check, make me a fund. It was like, I need to know that you understand what this means. And that actually made me feel a lot better. I know sometimes, we think that we can do things, but when we get into them and we start realizing we can't, like that kind of is a whole nother thing. And so I felt more comfortable when he was like, yeah, you guys, this is a logical next step for you to do. You guys have already done syndications, you've already done big assets, you've already learned how to run parks. Like, let's move you into what is progressively what you should be doing next. And so I did like that. I loved the fact that he vetted us almost and made sure that we were in the right place to be doing something that big, because you are a custodian of other people's money and it's a big deal.
Mhm.
And so with our deal flow, we get a lot of deals, either through the sub two community, through brokers, through people in the industry. I have people in the industry who actually are like, hey, I was just on a phone call. They're not upgrading their systems because they're discussing selling in the next year. So, you know, and I told them that, hey, I know somebody you might want to talk to, and I've given them your number. Here's their information. So we get a lot of deal flow that keeps coming in. We actually have the problem of having too many deals, which is unique, I feel.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we always have, I mean, we get stuff coming in all the time, like every day. Like even while we were in Boston, Patrick turned to me at one point and he was like, hey, we just got this deal that looks pretty good. I'm going to go underwrite it. And so, you know, it's just we're constantly getting things. So I don't feel like deal flow is a problem that we're going to have right now,
Yeah.
especially all the connections that we have now in the industry.
Yep.
We get a lot of off-market deals. We structure our deals so that a lot of people really do want to work with us. We're more focused on making sure that mom and pop are retiring and they're doing okay. So we do a lot of like figuring out like what's your end goal? What
Yep.
exactly you need to do? And we want to keep your legacy going. We just want to upgrade everything. And
Yeah.
so it's very much about like we want to keep your vision alive. We just want to move it into the next century so that it can continue growing. And a lot of people resonate with that because a lot of these sellers they've built these from by themselves. They're all built from scratch and they want to keep it going, but their children decided that it wasn't something that they wanted to do themselves.
Mm.
So being able to give them the vision of, listen, if you had all the money in the world, what would you want to see this park do? And they give us their wish list and we're like, okay, if we can tell you that we're going to implement some of these things and keep the same campfire with better bathrooms, would you be willing to sell to us on our terms? And that
That's
kind of
amazing.
their position on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing approach because yeah, especially with I would feel like even on a mobile park side, you have these mom and pops that have owned them for years and years and years, and they've a lot of them put blood, sweat, and tears into these things and sweat equity, and they just don't want to see it go, but they don't have the funds to get it to the next stage or have it still be a nice clean community or park, right? And there is a need for new money coming in, we should say, and but I love, I should say, I love it is that the way that you're approaching it is, hey, let's finish out your dream and how can we work together on it? So
Yeah. And that's really what we want is we just want everybody to realize that, you know, when they bring their great grandkids back to the campground, they're still going to see the campground.
yeah.
And that's what's important to me. Like I have learned, it goes back to one of your original questions of, you know, what attracted you to this? And I said that originally it was the money. When I actually started getting into it, it actually became the community. And so
Mhm.
I love being in my campgrounds and sitting at the campfire and meeting the people who stay there.
Yeah.
Actually seeing kids running around and playing and having a good time. Like that has been eye-opening that they're not on iPads or watching TV. They have it. Always having good internet service is a huge plus. Um, but it's kind of cool that they want to set it down because they want to go hang out with friends that they met
Yeah.
in the campground next to them, and they go and they actually enjoy being kids. And
Yep.
these families sit at campfires roasting hot dogs together and like telling stories about where they're from is just it was a huge eye-opener to me, the community that is in these parks.
Yeah. Yep.
That's ultimately what I ended up falling in love with. So
Nice. I
yeah.
love that. And so
Money's, but ultimately to see people actually disconnect and connect all
mhm.
for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. So you had mentioned it was going to be one of the questions. You're finding deals, a lot of it through the community, connecting with members and inside Sub Two and whatnot. And then are you doing any kind of outbound marketing? Did you contact brokers? Are you doing any cold calling, texting? Are you doing any of that sort, or is it mainly just inbound stuff coming from people you know?
A lot of it is inbound stuff.
Yeah.
I maybe just tell people what we're doing, and I tell
Hmm.
them the vision that we have and basically what we're trying to do to help baby boomers retire while we're keeping the legacy alive of their parks and making sure that we're just funding their dream going forward so that they can
Yeah.
come back. And it just, people resonate with it, especially in this community. People understand it and they want it to stay the same. There's too many things that are detached for families, and this is like the one place that people still come together and they want to keep that.
Yeah.
And so they are on board. So if they can find somebody that's not a giant corporation that's coming in to take everything over, they're so excited that,
Yeah.
Patrick are coming to the park to, see if they want to buy it. And we'll sit at the campfire and get to know everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
That's
it's
awesome.
huge.
Yeah, that mission statement is gold. The fact that you're taking, because we've see it ourselves, people put in so much time and love into these places. All they want to do is just see kind of the legacy live on. Have
Yeah.
they tried to get you to give them, are any of the owners part of the deal? Like, did you have to allow them to retain any equity in any of these?
So we have allowed a couple, like we did on our second park, we
Hmm.
allowed the owner to actually retain the equity, but she 100% seller financed it to us with zero money out of pocket, like zero money down. She also
Yeah.
financed her down payment.
I mean,
So, and she actually stayed on as our manager.
Nice.
So there was like no transition at all. And she kept 5% equity, and we can buy her out in 3 years.
Hmm.
Um, And so that was kind of one of her stipulations, was just, like, if you give me this and I can raise it by 25% in the next 3 years, and she's booked probably almost every night. So she has already increased everything by 15%.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So it really kind of worked out as a bonus for all of us. We went probably the easiest close I've ever done in my entire life. We flew out, we signed over all the bank paperwork, we signed over all of the documents, and then she went back to manage the park and we went home.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and one of her other stipulations was that she wanted to take a month off every year for vacation because she had not been able to go on a real vacation. So her
Okay.
vacation in 10 years was actually September, and she went on a transatlantic cruise.
very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
And
so we ran it.
that's awesome. That's can't get it much easier than that.
So, and it's an awesome park. It's right off of Route 66, right between Carthage and Joplin. And one of the original drive-in theaters is actually like right next door.
Mm, yeah.
So
I've
I'm
actually
hoping that if that guy ever sells, he'll let me buy it.
include that right next to it. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Vanity.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. And that came from someone that you know too that sent it over. Is that a off-market deal?
Actually, that was an off-market deal. Well, so here's the crazy thing. We bought our first park, and then
Hmm.
others kind of came out of the woodwork.
Mm, yep.
And we actually connected with a broker, and she went to the woman and said, "Hey, I know that you have these issues, and I want you to consider selling the park." And I think I met the couple, and she did not want to sell or finance it at all. And she was not completely down. She was like, "Everybody wants to steal my park." So Patrick originally went out and met with her. And after she was done, apparently she called the broker like an hour later, and she was like, "I'll sell my park to them."
Nice.
And so then I went out and met with her. And that's when we really kind of worked out the deal, because we realized she didn't want to leave the park. She just didn't want to be the owner anymore.
Mm, hmm.
Her husband had had some health issues, and so she just kind of wanted to have the freedom
Yeah.
to get up and go if something were to happen. And so when we found that out, we kind of restructured everything, and we were like, "Why don't you just stay on as our manager and we'll pay you a salary?"
Yeah.
And so she loved that. She quit her job at the bank, like put in her 2 weeks notice that afternoon. And it really was great, because when I sat down with her, I was like, what does management look like to you? And she goes, well, what does it look like to you? And I said, no, you already run an amazing park. I don't want to change anything that you're doing. I just want to know like what you need from us in order to continue doing a great job. And so she was, I just want a vacation. And we were like, done. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so yes, we do have people who have kept equity in the park. And to keep the seller financing in place. And our Virginia park, actually, now that I think about it, yes, they also kept like, I think it was a 5% equity stake in it for about 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, because they knew that we were going to increase it and they want to be a part of that. So, but they seller financed all of their stuff to us too. So it worked out well.
Yeah. We've done that, and it makes sense, especially you get the terms that make sense for you, but then they get to retain and see the park grow and get to benefit from it too. So I like that. So I want to bring up something because this was one of the first things I want to say one of the first things. It was just a thing that I realized you guys know what you're doing. And it was about the first park that you purchased, and where the trick on if you got bad residents or people that are staying in these parks on how to get them out. So can you share that story for the listeners? And I get a kick out of it. And I tell all the time, I say, yeah, you should hear what Mychele did. And it's amazing.
It
Yeah.
our first park that we went to the first time we went to visit it, right away, I actually remember turning to Patrick and I was like, no, this is not going to happen. And he actually like challenged me, and I don't like a challenge. So, because he was like, you're serious. Like, you're going to let this little park like drive you out. And so as we were going through the park, I realized really quickly that there was some stuff going on in the park that we were not going to allow to happen. And one of them was we had a very big drug dealer that was a resident of our park, which is probably why it was not doing the numbers that it should have been doing, because it was scary. And I figured it out because as we were driving around the park, he had a trailer on one end, then he had his trailer and a boat and a Harley Davidson and like 2 cars. And I was like, well, he's taking up all these spots. And as we drove past his second trailer, he popped his head out and he was on the phone. And I kind of figured, and I looked at Patrick and I was like, he's dealing drugs. And so my husband is so sweet and always thinks the best of people. He was like, why do you think that? And I'm like, he's dealing drugs. So I asked around, and sure enough, he was a big drug dealer. So one of the first things that we did was we had to get him out because, it's just me and him and Patrick. And so I was like, okay, like, how do we get people out of here without actually having to confront them? That was my biggest thing, because I'm a small girl. Like, me taking on a big drug dealer seemed daunting. So I actually, before we closed, I actually went to the maintenance man and I was telling him, I was like, oh my gosh, it is so wonderful. We're building up this park. We're going to reposition it. We're going to make it a great place again. And we've started already building relationships with the police department. And one of the things that we've done as community outreach is we're allowing them to train the canine unit on our park. And so if you see them come in this week, don't let everybody know just to not touch the dogs. And sure enough, that night, word got around that the canine unit was coming in to train and that they were going to be regulars at our park. And that guy took him, all of his friends and everybody, and they left in the middle of the night. Like, one of my snowbirds was like, you should have seen it. All of a sudden at like 1 a.m., we heard him out of here with everything.
That's awesome.
It cleared them all out overnight. So by the time I came in, all the heavy lifting was done. And it just so much easier so that we could just and they've not been back.
That's great. That's amazing. Are you doing at that park or any of your parks, are you doing like monthly stays, or is it purely nightly or weekly stays?
So we actually did a hybrid at all of our parks just to kind of make it convenient and easy for us. So what we do is we figure out where our break-even point is, and that's how many long-term guests we keep in. So it's
perfect. Yep.
Like 20 to 30% of the park will have, actually one of the park it's a lot lower, but that will usually make sure all the bills are paid, all of our investors are paid, everything's running smoothly. And then the rest of it we do weekly and nightly stays.
Yeah.
And so that makes every park cash flow and every park ensures that even through slow season, everything's taken care of.
Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it is, yeah, just getting enough to cover your overhead and then everything else is, the cherry on top. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And we went in and did a lot of things like, one of the first things we did is we started charging back electricity. A lot of people weren't doing that. And we started doing that right away because one of our biggest bills we found was our electricity. I think our one ran at like $8,000 for the winter season, like the winter months.
yeah.
And so we right away were like, okay, no, we need to start putting in different systems. And so we started putting in chargeback systems, upped nightly stays. A lot of parks are underperforming because they are not charging what they can.
Yep.
Sectioning people off, moving certain people to certain areas so that like we have our long terms in one area, our transients are all in another. In communities where we know that we have a lot of construction workers, we usually clump them together so they're in their own little community and away from the people who are coming in nightly. That way everybody feels comfortable and
Yep.
all hang out together and do their own thing. Putting in stores is a big thing. So we've put in stores in a few of them. Vending machines, ice machines, propane tanks. The golf carts are big. Daily passes at like our one in Virginia. We do daily passes for $20 for the community to come in and use our facilities.
Okay.
So that has increased our cash flow. We have a full
That's great.
the laundry mats are working really well. The bar and grill, the marinas. So lots of different ways that we have value added and are value adding as we go. And we're learning every day. So
Gosh, that's amazing. I like the community pass. That's another unique idea too. That just it's all revenue, and it's no capex on your side, right? It's already something you have, and now it's just another revenue stream. So that's amazing.
we also added bracelets, like all-in-one bracelets where the kids they get access to the credit card just by like swiping their bracelet.
Nice.
So yeah, that was I learned from going to like luxury resorts in Mexico.
Yeah.
Get the bill from the kids and go, oh my God, what? And so, and you can put a limit on it. Parents can put limits on them, but it's so convenient for them. So they just kind of like put these bracelets on their kids and they go use them in the arcade or buy ice creams or get a pizza or whatever. So
Yeah. Nice. There's we just had a guest, Linton. What was his first name? Ben from
Linton from Ferncrest.
Yeah, from Ferncrest Glamping. He was on our show recently. He was talking about how they have a convenience store and it's all self-managed. Like they don't have anybody working it, but it's like self-kiosk checkout and stuff like that. And it's a little bit of on the trust system, but we were just talking about it this weekend because we were at a park and we're like, well, what should we do with the store, blah blah blah, and how was it Amazon Fresh has their self checkout, like you just put something in a basket and then it kind of just rings you out, something like that. I mean, implementing technology into these parks is the way to go for sure. We were just having a big discussion the other day too with AI and how we're to implement that in our business, and so I like hearing stuff like that. I mean, just thinking of creative ways to increase revenue.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I don't know, like in mobile home parks, but like with our communities, what we do is we try to keep track of the season and then supply our stores with the things that are happening that season. So like we will rent out fire pits, but we'll also sell them brand new for like a little upcharge from Amazon, like those little like ones that are metal ones. So if you want to buy it and just take it with you for like $50, you can, or $50 more than Amazon charges, you can buy it right there and just take it with you, or you can rent it from us for the week.
Yeah.
So like we always make sure that we have things like when winter comes along, we make sure that we have heated hoses in the store, things that they can insulate with.
Yeah.
We always have hot dogs and hamburger buns because I'm always thinking about mom. And mom is just leave mom alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I go into all things is I'm like, as a mom, what will keep my kids quiet and happy and let me sit down and have a glass of wine. So
yeah.
Have you been implementing the same like back-end tools to manage all the parks? And do you mind sharing maybe some of the tools that you do use that you found really helpful?
So actually, our system, we use Staylist, which is, I think, one of the newer ones that is out, but I really like the way that everything, I can see all of my parks, they run all my reports, I can kind of have a backdoor into everything that's going on, but they're the ones who actually have, like, you know, the stripe system, they have the bracelet system, it all integrates together along with the electricity, it reads all our electric meters, it does all
Mm,
of that for us. And I like the easy integration.
yeah.
So I want everything to easily integrate together so that if one of my park managers, one of the great things that I love about the parks is that if my managers get bored, and because they're work campers and they like to travel, so I can just move them to a new park. But making sure that they're all in the same system is beneficial because then as they move to different parks, the systems aren't different.
Yeah.
And I
That's
like
cool.
it. And
Yeah.
so we're currently working on another park, which may or may not be in Alaska. Um, but like, you know, we've already talked to some of our parking managers and they were like, you know, we would love to go up for a season. And so being able to just take a good manager and say, okay, you know what, why don't you go run this park for the season? System's exactly the same. Everything runs exactly the same way.
Hmm.
Everything is, you know, standard across the board, just makes it so easy for me to be able to also help my managers keep their wanderlust in check and be able to go to different places.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I love that about keeping the same systems because some people are like, oh, well, you could do this or do that or this system or no, I just want them all the same.
Yep.
That
No.
includes reservations and everything is through that system. Online integration through your website, through OTAs, everything
Yep.
is done through that system.
Everything's through that system. And every manager that comes in gets a one-on-one training with Staylist to go through it and learn how to do it. Then we also have one manager who is on a first name basis with our personal person. So anytime there's something that goes wrong, she calls him, they fix it right away and everything works. And because they are still really building and doing new things, most of the stuff that we've asked them to do, they've implemented right away,
Nice.
which has been really helpful.
It's really cool. I want to go back to kind of about the parks and what you're buying. What does your buy box look like when you're out there, send you deals? What's the automatic no? And then what's the ones that you're like, okay, yeah, this fits our buy box.
So our buy box is we like to have at least 50 pads. We've kind of moved a little bigger, but 50 pads is kind of our standard. 50 pads, starting NOI of about 200,000 because we want to be able to service the loans and pay for management, and get systems in place. We like to be at a 10 cap at least.
Hmm.
That means that we can have a lot of things that we can value add and things that we can add into the park and stuff. We want to be in a destination area or be the destination area. So we either need to be by something that everybody's visiting or we need to be what everybody's visiting.
Got it.
So those are big things for us. So, which is why like Virginia, even though it's in the middle of nowhere, people visit that particular park.
Yeah. What about you like utility structures? Like, are you buying with well? Does that have to be city sewer, city water? What's that look like to you?
Actually are open to either. We have parks that have both.
Hmm.
And so we are open to either one, but we will go in and just kind of inspect them to make sure that there's no major ads that need to happen.
Yep.
We just go and look at one park that after digging in, actually after asking the question, if you had all the money in the world, what would be the first things that you would do? It came out that he needed a new septic system and it was going to
Mm.
be about $700,000 to fix it.
Jeez.
Ooh.
And so that kind of was a different conversation after that. So it was
Yeah.
drastically lower your price or this is not our park. And so, yeah, but you know, that's why I also think that that is a really good question to ask when you go in is what would be your dream to like add to this park? That stuff usually comes out in that conversation.
Yeah.
We also realized that his roads flooded during that conversation because he was like, oh, I would raise the roads, I would put in a new septic. And we were like, wait, let's go back and have this conversation. Why would you? And so that was when that whole revelation came in because they're really on their guard when they're talking to you about selling. But when you start talking about their dream wish list, that's when all that stuff starts to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a
So
psychological standpoint, it's almost a genius question. Like you hear, like, how do you get people, like, if you get somebody talking about what they like and their visions and their goals and their dreams, they're almost investing more in you now that they're kind of expressing themselves to you. And now there's this sense of rapport that they have with you because you care and you're showing that you care and you're allowing them to kind of express what they think. And it's genius. It really is. It's like that is gold. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I guess all that time in college and psychology classes helped a little.
That's funny. I,
So
with you're talking about earlier with utilities and stuff, whatnot. Are you separately metering every site now to do chargeback, or are you making sure it's already on there, or are you adding them down the road as like a capex item?
we will come in and add them. So it is part of our CapEx items.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just a lot of parks, especially when you get to the Midwest and further east, have not done it yet. A lot of the parks in the West have already started implementing it.
Mm-hmm.
A little less common when you start heading, but it will eventually be across the board. And as
Yeah.
parks are coming on and newer owners are coming on, more and more parks are getting them. So it is definitely something that you have to do yourself.
Yeah.
What I've seen, most of the parks we've walked into, we've had to do it too.
What system are you using?
We have solar power on.
Oh, what's that? I'm sorry.
I said one of our parks is actually fully fitted for solar power.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. And so that actually has been a huge decrease in the bill and we get to pass that on to our guests who come and stay with us. So
nice. And what system are you using for sub-metering the different spaces?
So right now we've used Wild Energy and they've been the best for what we needed. I like how they send all the information just wirelessly to our system and they just automatically put it in there and it's so seamless and easy. You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. And that's integrated into your CRM or your system that you're using.
Yeah, everything's in there. So it just makes it all, I love it when systems all come together and just are easy to use. I am completely computer illiterate, so no. As
How do you
all this stuff, it's like, I know. So when they walked me through, our stateless guy probably had to talk to me like 20 times a day because I just don't understand a lot of computer stuff. And so it was nice and easy that it was, just plug in some numbers and it just automatically, they flip a switch and it integrates. So
Yeah. Nice.
You were very humble before the show about your social media, but Dustin and I have both mentioned that you probably have some of the highest quality content out there in the space for RV and mobile home. Just in
cool. That's actually a huge compliment to me. Thank you so much. So
we talk about it often, actually. So can you talk to us a little bit about how your social media strategy, what kind of got you on it? Because you're very consistent now. It's awesome.
I am very big on, if you don't know what to do, you hire people who do.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And especially because when you're learning new things, I mean, I've only been in the RV space for a year. And so all of my attention has been completely on learning everything I possibly can about RV, like from rigs to parks to value adds to everything that I've had. So your brain can only take in so much knowledge in such a small amount of time. And I really just had to figure out like what parts do I want to learn and what parts do I not have the capacity for right now. And so that is why we've brought certain people on to do certain things. So I actually hired a social media team.
Okay, nice.
And they're amazing. I mean, they are the age of my children, but that's probably why they are so amazing.
Uh-huh.
And they actually work with some really big names. So, yeah, I mean, we're talking like big names out there who do a lot of social media content. I think one of the kids' first jobs was actually with the Tennessee Titans.
Nice.
And so, I just figured if I'm going to do this and I want to do it right, I'm just going to hire the right team to do it. And I absolutely adore my team. I love the guys that I work with. They come out on location with me and shoot for like 2 days at a time. And we will shoot. They came out and filmed my entire workshop for me so that I could just have more content. And they're amazing. And we just hang out really well together, which I love. They love to come hang out on the parks. They've never been in an RV park space. And so they came camping with me for a weekend.
Nice.
And because they want to learn.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me that they're so open and so willing to learn. But my social guy's name is Nick Lauer, and he actually started Short Form Empire. And so he works with like Adley, uh, is it fight Michael Foreman? He's a boxer. He works with a lot of bigger names. They've worked with Gary Vee, they've worked with all these people.
Nice.
And so it was just hire the right people, just do it right the first time.
Yep.
You know, money comes when you've like figured out how it works. And so my capacity is to learn all things RV and everything that I can do to make my guests comfortable and to make sure that my investors are getting the biggest bang for their buck. So
Yeah.
it takes one thing off my plate.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
kudos to you guys for getting where you're at. It's been impressive watching the growth and like I said, we're learning from you. We see the social media stuff, so it's awesome to take the tidbits that you're sending out there, and now we can implement them too. So it's I love that. But
That's actually a huge honor for me though, because like I said, when we first came in, I didn't know anything about this space, and Dustin was so great in helping us like figure out what we could do with it, if it was worth it, and just going into the space not knowing anything and kind of taking it on. Actually hearing that you guys learned from us is a big deal to me. So thank you.
yes, I mean that's why I feel like this industry. I've been investing for 20 years, but I feel like the mobile home park, the RV park space it's a tight knit community, and everyone we've talked to has been very helpful, like just to learn, right? Um, and we can all learn from everybody, new experience. There's so many different things to keep learning about this, and I feel like this niche has just been everybody's been very helpful. So, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to get to hang out with you guys soon. Hopefully stay at some of your parks. You stay at some of our parks, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah, no, I plan on having parks all across so that I can just like jump in and stay in one every night across the country.
Yeah.
Or, stay in another students' parks across the country. That way we have a consistent, like steady base, and we gotta like build a whole system of just a trek of parks.
Yeah, this one thing I know we were talking about was like a referral network, right? You have like these big KOAs, right? Why not have these independent referral networks that are just like, hey, a group of owners getting together and sharing a park, because there's certain ways people travel throughout the country, right? Or certain routes that are suggested when you're doing these road trips. So why not connect with other owners that are in those areas to promote the other parks along the way? So,
Oh yeah. Well, I already do it with people in the community anyway. I mean, not the sub two community, but in the campground community. Like I have
mm,
people that I know that have campgrounds throughout America. And when I know one of my guests is going somewhere, I'm like, hey, have you checked out this park?
nice. Yeah.
So why couldn't we do that in our own community? I think that would be awesome.
Yep. Exactly.
I
So.
love. So
Mychele, we're approaching an hour here, or maybe it's already been an hour, and I feel like I could talk to you for another couple hours, but I know I want to respect your time. I know you're busy. You got an empire you're building. So, how can people get a hold of you, send you parks, connect, or learn more from you?
so actually I just launched a web page.
Nice.
Yes, it's at mychelebisson.com. So it's mychelebisson.com. And you can actually find out how to invest with me. You can find out a little bit more about my story. You can find out about any of my workshops that I'm doing, any of the webinar calls that we do. And you can also find me on Instagram at Mychele Bisson with the same spelling, MyChelebisson. And you can always contact me through there. I always answer my DMs.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing so much knowledge. It's said we're very impressed with what you're doing. It's been a long time coming to have you come on the show. We kept saying, "Oh, we should get her on the show," and I just forget to reach out to you. It's basically what happened. But now you've done more and more, so it's amazing. But thanks for
Thank
coming on the show.
you so much for just inviting me. And when are we going to do a deal together?
Yes, exactly.
So, you guys need to think about that.
Yep.
Got some
Well.
parts.
Well, thank you so much again, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward. And yes, we're going to be doing a deal with you here soon.
All right, perfect. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.